Howdy folks and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another episode. I'm sorry that it took so long, but I've been really busy in real life, and I know I shouldn't say this here, but let me just spoiler it for you. Just like in real life that Stalin was aware that the Germans would have attacked him, and he was aware because of many spies and secret agents reporting to the Soviet Union that Germany was about to attack. He was caught off guard. And the same thing happened in this campaign. Because of some, I would say, unpredictability of the AI, I was caught off guard when the Axis declared war on the Soviet Union. And I can spoiler it for you. Well, Operation Barbarossa began in April of 1941 instead of June, but more on this maybe later. So the opening stages of World War II started with a very dire situation for the Soviet Union, as in my total manpower pool of reserve I had roughly 200,000 men. And when you play as the Soviets, 200,000 men is exactly the minimum amount of manpower you want to have, let's say, just to throw away against the Axis during the invasion. Similarly to the French campaign, in the early stages of World War II, the Polish army managed to push deep into Prussia, but they failed to conquer the Königsberg, however. And, well, I don't know why. I would have loved to see that, but the Polish AI just, I think, maybe forgot to defend the southern fronts, because from the south the Germans just pushed deeply into Poland and quickly capitulated it. And as Germany was busy reorganizing its forces from the let's say Eastern Front to the west, I also became busy in redeploying most of my well-trained, fully equipped divisions against the Finnish border. Now, you can do the math by yourself, but by fielding 15 divisions times, I think 4 times 3 is 15 times 12, I think the number is way big, and this is exactly the amount of divisions that I had against the Finns. I did wait a couple of days, in-game days, before declaring war, because I wanted to make sure that all of the divisions were in their correct positions. And, well, I think the Finns were caught off guard, because I managed to, let's say, unlike what happened in real life, I quickly broke through the Karelian Isthmus from the south, because it was basically undefended. And my troops were on the verge of capturing Helsinki, and I think this even happened because the only division stationed there was quickly surrounded and then annihilated. And actually, yeah, I did capture Helsinki, the Finnish capital, and I think the loss of Helsinki, paired with the loss of other small cities, just completely forced the Finnish government to sue for peace. And as soon as let's say the operations in Finland finished, I quickly redeployed my troops along the Dnieper and the Smolensk, Pskov, Narva line. Yeah, let's call it like this, the Smolensk, Pskov, Narva line. And the war in Finland allowed me to pick the focus then to the focus of lesson of war, which I think it's quite crucial to get when you play as the Soviet Union. And as, let's say, war was raging in the West, I kept expanding the Red Army by researching the land doctrine that allows you to field up to 16 divisions per general, and this meant in turn training more troops to later field in the fields, basically, yeah. This put a tremendous strain, you have no idea guys, a tremendous strain on my industry. And at this point, I mean, I already took the decision early in the game, but I decided to sacrifice my air force just to field a very large red army, a field army. I know this is a very debatable approach, because I mean, I've been reading a lot in the Discord channel that the Soviet fighters are just no match for the Axis one, for the German one especially. So I thought, what's the point of investing in crappy equipment that I cannot use because it will be just obliterated from the skies? So I was like, yeah, let's just focus on building more infantry equipment, uniforms, mortars, machine guns, stuff like that, you know, just to field a large red army. And maybe I did not show it, but one interesting investment that I decided to make, and I think I will make it as well in my German campaign, was to invest into small arms factories and into uniform factories, because even though it may seem small, a 10% reduction in the production cost means that you produce actually 10% more of weapons, and that's actually really good. And you may have noticed that whenever the AI is launching a war, I just focus, let's say, my attention towards that specific theater. And as Germany declared war against the West, I was just curious to see how long it would have taken Germany to overcome the Western powers. And let's say the thing that struck me most was to see how many attempts the AI did against the Maginot Line. I wish I could get some intel about the losses that Germany suffered against the Maginot Line, because that was really tremendous. The intervention of the Italians did alleviate a bit, I guess, the Axis situation against northern France, but still the French surprisingly managed to put up quite some fierce resistance. And importantly, I decided to focus to research as soon as possible the T-34 medium tanks, because within my tank corps I wanted to have 4 battalions of medium tanks, and the best medium tank that the Soviets could field is by far the T-34. France eventually gave up much, I would say, later compared to what happened in real life, because the fighting in France dragged on until August 1940. This meant that the Germans could enjoy only, let's say, 1 month less of French factories and French manpower and production and so on and so on. Still, let's not forget, guys, that Germany could enjoy the full industrial and population, let's say, potential of Sweden, which I think it's quite interesting to balance the advantages that the Allies have. And I was quite surprised that there were still some fightings going on in those provinces of the Maginot Line. I'm not sure what was going on, and I decided just to roll back to the Soviet Union, where I decided to put into place the strategy of defense in depth. So this strategy could work quite well when you play with the Total War mod. Spoiler alert, this will not work when you play as Black Eyes. I don't want to say anything, I just want to say that, yeah, you will see in the next episode what will happen to my defense in depth, and I'm actually laughing because, well, I'm just laughing, I don't want to say anything else, seriously. Yeah, so I was really undecided what to do, you know, I was playing around with the divisions, shall I fortify the whole Ukraine? But then I realized, oh shit, I don't have enough divisions to really make a proper in-depth defense, because ideally you want to have a thin layer of troops along your border, and then in each province you want to stack at least one division. And no, that's basically impossible. So my first approach was to defend a few key points along the border with occupied Poland, and then fortify the whole of the Ukraine, fortify Kiev, the approaches to Kiev, and fortify Minsk, the approaches to the, I would say, Vitebsk and Smolensk gap, and of course the famous line behind the Dwina River, because this was really my approach. I was like, okay, let's try to set up a defensive line behind this, even though I realized already around this point that there were some gaps in the, I would say, Ukrainian in-depth defense. And because when playing as France, I noticed that the Soviet Union and the Allies both eventually declared war on Iran, I put all of my mountaineers divisions, a complete army of 16 divisions, was deployed along the Iranian border. And basically what was left over in my main training army, this big, huge light blue army standing around Moscow, were my future tank and motorized divisions that were still training. They were still being re-equipped with fancy new weapons and fancy new tanks. And this basically sums it up in terms of preparation for the upcoming invasion. You may have seen very quickly that I did invest a lot into infantry equipment, because I realized I needed quite a lot of it. And of course, let's not forget that the Red Army around that period was still facing the horrible purges, and some of these events just reduce. A few of them increased, but most of them even reduced the training time required for your divisions. So the goal was just, as soon as the divisions are ready, even though they are still crap and green, just deploy them on the map and put them into field training. Because even though this will be a bit more equipment intensive, I noticed that by spawning the divisions and training them in the field is a much faster way to get them to the basic level of experience in which they won't suffer any malus in combat. And having spoiled already that Operation Barbarossa would start in April, but I didn't know it, and this was really a surprise for me, I would like to conclude here this episode, and I hope you guys will be ready, because the next one will be very long, as I will cover the whole great patriotic war from the beginning until the very end. So guys, stay tuned, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for supporting my channel, and well, see you all in the next episode.
Друг свою смуглянку я в отряде повстречал, раскудрявый